What's up everyone, and welcome to my minimalist productivity desk setup tour. My desk is a place where I make things happen as a content creator and engineer. So making sure that everything is organized and easily accessible is highly important for me. I also live in a small apartment, so making sure everything is small enough, decluttered, and maximized for space is a must. Links for everything featured in this video are in the description below, so make sure you check them out. Let's talk about hardware. The whole setup is powered by my MacBook Pro M1 2020. It has 16 gigabytes of RAM, 512 gigabytes SSD storage. I do pretty much everything on this laptop. Some programs that I use only run on Windows, which means I need to use parallel software to run Windows in parallel on my Mac. The MacBook Pro is connected to a Wonky docking hub that has two HDMI, 4 USB 3, SD card reader, Ethernet, auxiliary, USB-C, and USB-C power ports. I've had this dock for some time and I haven't experienced any major issues. I got it because it was on the cheaper end of docks available for MacBooks. The downside is that it doesn't support two monitors for a MacBook M1 2020, but it does support the newer version. But it isn't a problem for me because I only use one 34-inch LG monitor that has a slight curvature. I used to have an old 27-inch Acer monitor that did its thing basically, but the ultrawide monitor just looks so much better and combines basically two monitors into one. I typically work in a split screen mode to take most out of this monitor. I use rectangle software to manage Windows using keyboard shortcuts, which makes my life easier and more productive. I didn't use the MacBook Pro screen at all because it's closed under the table, but more about that later. For the peripherals, I have Logitech Bluetooth mouse that has multi-device support, which is great if I would actually have the luxury of having multiple computers. What I love about this mouse is that the clicks are silent. Did you hear this? Yeah, me neither. Makes me feel so much more peaceful. I use Artec wireless keyboard that looks decent and has great battery life. I really like the slim look of this keyboard. Also, the button presses are fairly quiet, which I like as well. I'm planning on switching this keyboard to a silent Bluetooth one to free up one of the USB ports later on. I use HyperX Quadcast S microphone for some of my videos and online meetings. It is set up on a boom arm for easy use and accessibility. So whenever I have a meeting or need to record a video, I just pull this mic close to me and start talking. The boom arm also gives me more free space on my table and just provides a cleaner look. My main camera for recordings and video calls is Canon M50, which is set up on a camera arm behind the monitor. It is the same camera that I use for recording right now, that's why you don't see it in the background there. I have it plugged in via cheap HD video capture device to my Wonky docking station. I'm probably upgrading to an Elgato video capture device soon because they are genuinely better. The very last peripheral I use is my Samsung T7 1TB SSD, which is super helpful with large video files that I need to manage and store. The only annoying thing about it is that I haven't found a great place where to hide it yet. And then when I find it, I'll be very happy. Let's talk about furniture and accessories. I use a small 48 by 24-inch Fazebo standing desk. I got this desk because of the size and it would fit nicely into our apartment. And I thought it would be super cool to work while standing, which I literally used maybe twice in my life. And ever since I've just sat. Would I ever buy a standing desk again? Absolutely. I'm about 6'2" or 187 centimeters tall, so making sure that the table is adjusted for the right height is essential for me. Most unadjustable tables on a cheaper end or smaller tables feel like kids' tables for me. And it's very uncomfortable to sit behind those for many hours without having it to adjust it based on your personal height. Yes, I do have the chair, which gives me some flexibility as well, but having the chair and the table combo is the go-to. And speaking of chairs, I have an OFM chair that I've used for 2 years now. It felt pretty nice initially, but after a while, I started having lower back problems and got an additional lumbar support for myself. I made it usable and comfortable with the lumbar support, which is fine now. I use this mini drawer to hide all my items that would otherwise clutter my desk, and I don't want to see my desk cluttered, especially while it's in the living room. Let's talk cable management. My main main goal has really been to make sure that there aren't any cables hanging and the setup would look clean. As mentioned earlier, I have a laptop mount under the table to keep my MacBook Pro there. I used some duct tape to soften the edges of this mount to avoid scratching my laptop. I don't turn off my MacBook because the sleep mode on a Mac is so power efficient. I have mounted all power adapters under the table using double-sided tape. I use these small J channels to hold all the cables under the table. Well, at least most of them. Downside really for these J channels is that all of the cables don't fit in them because they're so small, but also the double-sided tape it comes with is crappy. So I ended up using the same double-sided tape I used for the power adapters for the J channels. I think the double-sided tape's effect depends on how many cables you put into the J channel, and I put a lot. I also have some cables hidden behind the monitor using some wire clips. I think there's definitely room for improvement to make sure that all the cables are covered somehow and you can't see them, but I will leave that for future Greidi. Again, all the links for these items are in the description below, so make sure you check them out. Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit the like button. Consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. Other than that, I'm out of here. Bye!